Hi guys, welcome back to another interesting sewing vlog on this channel. Today's video is on how to make this beautiful tube top. Ensure to stay to the end so you can follow the steps I use. So to all my freehand sew creatives, let's get down into this tutorial. These are the materials you need for this project. I have this bra cup, I have my wadding. It's actually a soft wadding, so you can also use the thick one. I have my hair stay for this. I also have my tailoring chalk. I have my tape, my scissors. I have this bias. I have my zip as well. And I also have my lining piece. It's a cotton lining as well. So I have this beautiful Ankara fabric that I'm going to use for this. I'm just going to use the bias to place on it, just to match it up. I got a bias that actually match with the fabric I'm working on. You also need your measurement. I'll link it in description box, the required measurement needed for this. I went ahead to fold my fabrics into 4 and it measures 15 inches in width. So for the length, I'm just going to measure the length as we go on. So for the down part, I'm just going to come up by 5 inch. This 5 inch I'm coming up by is to give it that basque effect. So we are using freehand pattern for this. So we're cutting directly on our fabric. So I'm just coming up by 5 inches there and marking it, making it in a straight line. So I'll come in with my tape to get the full length for this top, and I'm going to drop the measurement we have from our shoulder to on top of the bust, which is 6 inches. So I'll mark 6 inches there and I'll just make it up in a straight line. After making it in a straight line, I'll start by marking the vertical measurements, which is the measurements you measure on the vertical axis of your body. So I'm just going to mark down the under bust. The under bust I worked with is 14 inches. The shoulder to waist measurement I work with is 17.5 inch. The nipple point, that shoulder to nipple point, is 10 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark the 14 inches there, 10 inches and 17.5 inches. So I'll make this measurement now in a straight line. After marking them in a straight line, I will go ahead to label it so that we'll remember which line is for which. So that's the bust point, that's the under bust line, and that is the waistline, and that is the full length for this top. So that's the full length, and I'll go ahead now from that bust point. I will come in for the bust span, that's nipple to nipple measurement, which is 7.5 inches. So I marked down 4.25 inches, adding the allowance I need for the joining of that bust area. So on the upper part, that's the chest line, I'll mark 5.5 inches there, and from that waistline I will come in by half inches towards the center front and half inches on that under bust, and I'm just going to come in from that other side towards the side front by 1 inch, and I will also come in by on the waistline by 1 inch and extend it downwards. So I ended up making some adjustments as we move down this video. So I will mark 1 inch for the upper bust tightening around the chest line. That's 1 inch each around that area. So I'm just going to connect it this way, and I'll connect it from the chest line as well and make a curve just the way I am doing right now. So I'll just connect it also to that other side. So I ended up changing that under bust area. I added extra half inch, that's 1.5 inch that I took out from that area just to make the under bust a bit tight. This is just everything I did. So I'll go up from that place by 1.5 inch and draw a straight line there. So you notice I went ahead to clean the line that I extended towards the full length. So as we go on, you will know why I cleaned that line. So I will come down there by 2 inches just to mark our neckline design. That's the sweetheart neckline. So I'm marking it from that 1.5 inch I raised up. So after that, now I'll measure what we have left there. So we have 4.5 inches left there, plus 2 inches for upper bust tightening, that's 6.5 inch, plus extra 1 inch for joining the two darts line together, and extra 1 inch allowance, that's 8.5 inches. So from that 8.5 inches I marked, I will drop the 6 inches to get the armhole measurement, which is 7.5 inch, and I marked it there. I'm going to curve it when I'm done marking our bust measurement. That's the bust measurement I'm working with is 36 inches divided by 4, which gave 9 inches, plus extra 1 inch that intake around that area, that's 10 inches, plus extra 2 inches for the seam allowance, that's 12 inches, and that's 12 inches I marked there. I'm just going to connect it that way. Since it's a tube, no need for covering the armhole area, so I'm just going to connect it that way. And I'll go ahead now to the under bust. The under bust measurement I worked with is 29 inches divided by 4, which is going to give you 7.25 inches. That's I took out 2 inches around that place for the darts. That's plus 7.25 inches will give you 9.25 inch. So 9.25 inches plus extra 2 inches, which will give you around 11.25 inches. So I'm just going to mark the 11.25 inches there, and I'm connecting it this way. So for the waistline measurement I worked with is 27 inches. So I'll just repeat the exact thing I calculated for my under bust and mark the waistline measurement there. So for the full length, you measure around where the full length of the top is and mark the measurement you have there, dividing by 4 inches and adding the necessary allowance. So I marked it there. I'll go ahead to cut it out before we can continue with this tutorial. So after cutting it out now, I'm just going to extend the bust span measurement we have, like extending the line downwards, and I'm just going to connect the dart this way. Just to, you can decide to come up by 2 inches and connect it that way. So to make the basque design, I'm going to either join it directly this way that I'm doing now, or you can decide to clean it up and come in by 2 inches, 1.5 inch you gave for your seam allowance, and mark it there, then join it from that inches you came in. Just join it this way. Either of these works good for you. So this is it here. I'll go ahead now to cut out what we have here. So if you're a plus size, you can decide to give extra room for allowances, because you know this is a freehand cutting. We're not cutting on pattern first, so I'll advise you give enough allowance on this before going ahead to cut it. So I will cut it this way. After cutting it out, I'll go ahead to notch the under bust line and the bust point line as well, so while joining it together it can match each other. So this is just what I prefer to do. This is everything we cut out. So we go ahead to cut the back. So for the back, I folded out a fabric that measures 20 inches in length. So I'm just going to mark out the full length, and I will drop 7.5 inches to mark out the full length. This 7.5 inches I'm dropping is for the armhole length. That's I'm just going to use my front pattern or my front cutting to cut out the back. This is just what I do when I'm cutting off shoulder or bustier top on fabric directly. So this is it. I will bring in the center front and the side front and place it on top each other. That's removing the allowance I'm going to use to join them all together. So from the full length there, I will come up by 1 inches for the zip area, and I'll go in by 1 inches. So I will come in here by 1.5 inch and connect it just this way, and I'm just going to cut it out this way. And when I get to the top, I'll raise it up and and continue. So I'll raise it up now, and I just want to give the back a little bit of shape around the zip area. So I will come down from that zip area, center back by 1 inch, and connect it this way. So I will go ahead and cut everything out. For the down part of the back, I will come in from the side back by 2 inches, and I will connect it to the 1 inch I gave towards the zip allowance and cut it out. This just helps to shape that down part area, and this is just everything I cut out for this. I'm just trying to note where is the up and the down part of the back, so I won't get confused while sewing. I went ahead to place it on my lining piece, and I'm just going to pin it before going ahead to cut out the lining piece of this top. After cutting it, I'm just notching the bust point for the lining piece and the under bust point as well, for both the side front and the center front as well. So after this, I'll go ahead to cut out the back lining piece, and this is the back. I'll just arrange it and cut it out. Just follow what I am doing in this video. To cut the wording, I'll fold it into two, and I'm going to bring in the front, that's the center front. I will just remove the lining piece so that I will cut the main piece very well. So I'm just going to place it from the under bust. As you can see, the line is touching the under bust only, and I'm just going to cut it out, just following what I am doing in this video. I would advise, if you're using the thick wording, try and give some seam allowances before cutting your wording. So for the side front, I'm going to shape it this way, just giving it a little bit of curve around the down part, and this is just how it looks like, the curve I gave around that place. And I went ahead to cut out the hairstay for the back and the front as well. So I'll go ahead now to iron everything down, and after ironing it down, this is how it looks like when I was done ironing the hairstay and the wording as well. So these are the lining I'll be using for this tutorial, and we're going to join the front first. So to join the front, I'll bring in the center front and the side fronts together, and I'm just going to place the side front to the center front, and I'll sew along from the down to the up. So we'll head over to our sewing machine and do all of the stitches. So this is us on the sewing machine right here, and I'm just going to place them together the way I did initially, and I'm just going to start from that down part to sew it up. Before you stitch them together, ensure that the under bust line for the center front and the side front are matching each other, likewise the bust points as well. So I'm just going to stitch it up like this. It's advisable to start from the down part to stitch your bustier. For some of us that do start from the upper part to stitch your bustier, I don't know how you do it, but this is very much recommendable. So I'm just going to stitch it this way, try matching up the under bust line and the bust point lines as well. So I'm just stitching it like this to the upper part. As you can see, we have already enough for the side fronts on the upper part. So this is it when I'm done stitching it. This is how the bust area is standing so well. Like, I was in love with this cup when I was done stitching it. So I'll go ahead to do it for this side front as well. So this is it when I was done stitching the both side front and the center front all together. So this is just how the cup is standing, and this is the inside of the cup. I just love the outcome of this cup, sorry. So I'll go ahead now to press it open. I will press it using my steam iron to press it open so that it can relax more for me. So before I press it open, I will stitch the lining together. So I'm just going to stitch the lining just the same way I did it for the main piece. So this is how it looks like when I was done pressing the seams open, and this is how beautiful it looks like. It really cupped very well. This is how beautiful the front looks as well. I'm going to stitch the bias right there. I'll stitch it along the bust dart lines and the center line as well. So I'm just going to stitch it like this one. You have to be really careful so that you won't press your bust area down, or you won't stitch your bust area down. So I'm just going to open it very well. Like while I'm stitching the bias, I'm trying to open up that area so that I won't sew on top of the bust area. Like I won't sew anything under or anything together, or try to make any mistake while sewing. So you have to be really careful and take your time while stitching this. I'll go ahead to do this for the center line and the other bust line as well. So when I'm done, you'll see how beautiful it looks like. So this is the outcome when I was done stitching the three bias lines together, and this is just it. Oh, so beautiful. And now we have to fix our cup. To fix our bra cup, we have to place it this way, like place it slanted, because we have a deep neckline there. That's the sweetheart neckline. And I'm just going to cut out the allowance we have left on the center front and cut out the other one as well. So this is it when I was done cutting it out, and we're just going to fix this bra cup now by tacking it. Ensure that the thing is touching your underbust. I will pin it first before going ahead to tack it. Ensure the bra cup touches your underbust dart. That's your underbust notch, the notch you gave around your underbust. So I will pin it like this first before going ahead to hand stitch it. That's tack it to the cloth. You don't sew it to the cloth. This is how it looks on the front area, and I'll just go ahead now to tack it. I will start tacking it from the down part, that's the under bust. I'll use my needle and thread to tack it from the under bust, and I'll do the same thing for the other bust area. So when I'm done, you'll see how it looks like. I give it a very neat tacking so that the thread won't show in the front side or at the front side. So this is it when I was done tacking it, and this is the front side, how neat it looks on the front area. So I'm just going to join the dress right now. I'm going to join the lining piece separately and this Ankara bend piece separately as well. So I'll use my measurements to join this, the measurement we worked with to join this. So for the round bust measurement, we worked with 36 inches, and we divided by 2, which gave 18 inches. So I will mark down what I have left there, and I'm going to stitch it up that way. So I'll do the same thing for the underbust. The round underbust is 29 inches divided by 2, which is 14.5 inches, and I'll mark what I have left there. So I'm just going to stitch it this way using the actual measurement, and stitch it this way on the other side as well. So when I was done doing this is how it looks like. This is how neat it is. So I'll go ahead now to also do the same thing for the lining piece, and this is just everything I did for the lining piece and the main piece as well. So I'm going to turn the main piece with the lining piece just the way I'm placing it right here, front facing front, and I'll go over to my sewing machine to stitch it around the upper part, just that place. I'll stitch it there. So I normally use this hemming gum to stitch it so that when I'm done stitching and press it down, everything will lap very well. So I'll use the hemming gum and stitch it all the way around. So I'll head over to the sewing machine and stitch it likewise the down parts there. And this is how it looks like when I was done stitching everything. And this is just it. I use the hemming gum to stitch everywhere, and towards the down part as well I also reshaped it there, giving it a better V or Basque curve. And I'm just going to show you closer look, and this is it. I'm just going to trim off the excess remaining, like I'll trim off that excess I have there. Mind you, I'm raising up the hemming gum to trim off the excesses and also notching the sharp edges. So I'm notching that area now while trimming off the excess. And while I was done doing that, this is how it looks like, and this is the opening I gave on the lining to use and turn it in out. And this is just me turning it inside out right now, and this is how it looks like when I was done turning it inside out, looking all beautiful already. So I'll go ahead now and press everything down to look more neat. And this is how beautiful it looks like when I was done pressing it down. See, the cup is just standing on its own, and this is the inside of it looking all beautiful. And I'm just going to put the zip right now. So to put the zip now, I'm just going to bring in the zip we are going to work with, and this is the zip we are going to work with. I'm just going to place it there. I will end up cutting the zip. You can use a shorter zip if you have, and this is the outcome when I was done stitching the zip. This is the inside. The cup is still standing on its own. Like, I just love the outcome of this cup. So this is it. I'll fold the zip inside and stitch it there, fold this one inside and stitch it there, and cut out the excess. So I decided to style mine with a detachable sleeve, which I just brought in the sleeve right here, and it measures 16 inches in width and 21 inches in length. So I'm just going to fold it there and stitch it that way. And this is it when I was done stitching and folding the down part and the upper part as well, for just creating a space for the elastic to pass through. And this is the elastic I'm going to use for it. I'm just going to use my safety pin to pass the elastic inside, just the way I am doing right now. And when it gets to the other end, I will just bring it out. You can either top stitch on them, or you go ahead to tie them to your desired round sleeve measurement. And this is the outcome when I was done doing everything for the boat. This is just the sleeve, and this is how it is. So this is the top right here, and I'm just going to put it this way. You can decide to also stitch the sleeve to the top as well, so but I just want mine to be detachable. So this is it right here, everything we worked on, looking all neat and beautiful. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, ensure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you all for your support. Thank you for all the love and shares and likes and comments you have been supporting on this channel. Thank you so much. If this was helpful to you, don't forget to share to your loved ones, to your so creative as well. Bye.